Good evening, everybody. How's everybody doing tonight? All right. So let's move this out of the way so I can read this paper. So welcome to Memoirs, True Stories, Unfiltered. My name is Flip Awesome Aguilera. Thank you for being here. And let me tell you a little reason of why memoirs exists. So memoirs exist because listening deepens friendships. If you're feeling distant from your old friends or are struggling to connect with new ones, being a better listener is a game changer. The benefits of listening are greater trust, fewer misunderstandings, and more empathy. All those things translate well to building authentic friendships. It's worth the effort. Deeper friendships are linked to better physical, mental, and emotional health. So here's to listening. Cheers. So how many of you, by show of hands, are here for the first time? All right, awesome. Give yourselves a hand. We love first-timers. So I know what you first-timers are thinking. Tell me if this is exactly what you're thinking. You're thinking, how can I get up here and tell my story to all these people that I have no idea who they even are? How many of you? No? That guy's ready, for sure. So if you're interested in being a memoir storyteller, please send us an email. Our email is memoirskicks@gmail.com. So please send those emails because we are looking for people to fill this stage for the months to come. You can also follow us on all the socials. We're on the Facebook, we are on the Instagram, and we are Memoir COS and all of those places. We also have a podcast, and the podcast is released the second Monday of every month. We have officially, I think this week, hit over 150 listens on our podcast. So that's awesome. Yeah. People want to hear stories out there, so. All right, I can finally pull this paper out here. So you see this paper, there's one or two on each table. These are what are called anonymous memoirs. And what you're going to do is, the theme of the evening is new beginnings. If you have a new beginnings secret or, anonymous memoir, fill it out. And in the back over there, there's a little basket, a little wicker, colorful basket. Just put your little anonymous memoir in there, and we're going to read them throughout the night. So don't be shy. We're not going to know who you are, but fill them out. Pretty please. All right. So next is, let's give a hand to 3Es and the staff that we have here tonight. Yes. Make sure to grab a bite and a drink. This helps support events like Memoirs and the beautiful venue that Eric lets us graciously use. Please take care of your wait staff as they are excited to take care of you, and that we even have any because, sometimes they don't even want to show up. So at least they're here. And I'd like to thank the Memoirs team, Samantha out in the front, and my wife Maritza here. All right. They didn't want to clap for you that much. I keep messing around with this sticker right here. So this sticker, you can buy one at the front for $5. And the reason, I'm a mess today with all this. I take off a month and I just come back, I need to get smooth again. So part of the proceeds of these stickers go to CASA. And CASA are the court-appointed special advocates. And I am going to call up my buddy from CASA over here, and he's going to tell us a little bit more now. Another thing we're going to do, here I'm going to give you the mic, but something else that I would like to do aside from if you buy one of these stickers, part of the proceeds go to them. Another thing that they need are clothes. So I'll let you tell them why. And I have a box of clothes for you right here. So everybody, if you have clothes, bring them here next month and we will give them to our CASA reps to give out to the people of CASA. And now let's find out what CASA is.
Well, thank you, Flip. My name is Michael Mersman. I'm the Volunteer Recruitment Manager at CASA of the Pikes Peak region. For those of you that do not know, CASA stands for Court Appointed Special Advocates. So what we do is we recruit, train, and support volunteers, everyday people like yourselves, to support a child that's been abused or neglected. I think it's pretty fitting that we're here at Memoirs because our tagline is to change a child's story. And what we mean by that is, a child is going through life, and they already have a story, not some nice one. And our mission is to change that story and put them forward on a better path. So we do that a bunch of different ways. Our flagship program, our advocacy program, is what most people think of when they think of CASA, where we pair a volunteer with a child going through what's called a dependency and neglect case, essentially a child abuse case. And they walk with that child, they get to know that child, they get to know that child's story, and then they advocate on their behalf all throughout the community, all throughout that child's life, as well as in the court system, to make sure we change that child's story for the better. We also have the STEP program, Supervised Exchange and Parenting Time program. Lots of acronyms over at CASA, get used to that. This is where we support families that are in supervised visitation, ordered by the judge, where a judge is deemed a non-custodial parent unfit to be around their child without some form of supervision. So we want to maintain that bond between non-custodial parent and child, and we provide a safe and accountable space to do that, and utilizing volunteers as facilitators for those meetings. And then lastly, we operate what's called The Hangar through our Milton Foster Child Fund. It is a like-new or gently used clothing boutique that we operate out of our downtown Colorado Springs CASA office. Born out of a simple need. One of our advocates was working with a young lady. She didn't want to go to school. She was truant, out of school for weeks on end. Finally, the advocate said, what's going on? I need to hear what's happening. Well, it just so happens that that young lady, the only clothes she had were the clothes on her back. And she was getting bullied mercilessly at school, and so she didn't want to go. And so our amazing advocate, Jane, said, well, I'm not going to stand for that, and decided to create a program called The Hangar. Again, a clothing boutique where any child in foster care can come shop at free of charge any given Saturday. So lots of different ways to get involved. We're always needing donations. But more than that, we really need people. We need people like every average, everyday person to come in and want to support a child going through a very difficult time. If you're interested, please feel free to visit our website. It's casappr.org. I'm always happy to talk with you. And I want to thank Flip and Maritza for allowing us to come here tonight, talk with you. Those stickers are a great way to support CASA as well. So thank you for the invitation, and we look forward to being here many more months ahead.
So yeah, I think it's pretty fitting, like he said, that we are trying to help kids change their stories because they still have so much story left ahead of them. So let's try to show them that it doesn't only have to be negative. So give yourselves a hand, Colorado Springs. And of course, let's give a hand to our courageous storytellers of the evening. Yeah. So tonight's theme is New Beginnings. Madhav Gramke, Little Rocks to Big Rocks, and Scott Jenson with 9 Breaths. So I have an anecdote for new beginnings. You can learn new things at any time in your life if you're willing to be a beginner. If you actually learn to like being a beginner, the whole world will open up to you. And to get to our next story. So do we have any anonymous memoirs? Did any of them appear? All right, where's John? Come back up here. Let's see what secret somebody in the crowd is going to share with us. How many of them are in there? One. Yes. So let's work on having a 100% increase. White lights.
You just want me to read it?
Read that out loud.
Okay. So this is based off the New Beginning theme. And it says, the day my parents' rights were taken away and I became a ward of the state, I was 15 years old. It was a happy day, but I also felt so alone.
So that is a new beginning, right? All right, thank you. Boom. So with that, we will call our next storyteller up to the stage. And now we have Madhav Gramke with Little Rock to Big Rocks.
It seems that this reality, this universe, has 2 aspects or characteristics. They seem permanent. What I mean is the idea of light and dark, hot and cold, happy, sad, good, evil. This duality is a characteristic of this universe that we live in. So it seems to me that the eternal story of humankind, the stories that we're hearing tonight from all three of us actually, it seems that the real story is taking this, being in a negative space and overcoming the challenge and moving into the positive space, moving into the good, moving into the light. And it's a cyclical thing too. It's not like once you're there and it's done. But that is the story, right? How can we overcome and become better? So my idea is to share my story of overcoming and coming into new beginnings in a hope that it will give you encouragement to face the challenges in your life so that you can be transformed by that and come into a better space as well. So my story, I'll start with my obsession for health and the human body. It started in high school with a big interest in exercise and nutrition, actually. But I figured, I can't really make bodybuilding a career. That doesn't feel right for me. So what else can I do? I don't know. But in undergrad, I declared a major of health sciences. That's good. That's broad enough. It'll get me where I'm wanting to go, even though I don't even know where I want to go yet. But it's something in health sciences. That sounds right to me. So I'm going through my thing, and I had a friend who was an older friend of mine. He was kind of a mentor figure to me. He had been suffering from migraines for 4 decades. He had tried all kinds of stuff to help. He even tried chiropractors. I'm a chiropractor. Nothing worked, but he tried this one chiropractor who's a specialist in the upper neck. We call it upper cervical chiropractor. In 2 adjustments, the migraines disappeared and never came back. That's a good trick. So my friend said, hey, he's giving a talk. Maybe you want to come and listen. Maybe you'll learn something. I was like, sure, that sounds great. I really don't know anything about chiropractic. Might as well. Well, basically, the story, or what he had to say, made a lot of sense to me. It was it was like, boom, that makes sense. How the science of it works, and also the fact that it's kind of philosophically in line with how I kind of want to be, like natural and this kind of thing. And it really helps people. So I was like, I got to hang out with this guy. I'm going to shadow this guy. So I hung out with him for a few weeks, and I got to see it in front of my own eyes, and sure enough, people really got better in his office. Okay, this really seems like it's it for me. Cool. So I go to chiropractic school. Now this is a new beginning for me for sure, because I didn't really have a direction before. Now I really have a direction, This is new beginning. This is exciting. I'm stoked. I get to go and learn this thing to help people, because that's what I want to do. I want to help people. But then, what did I say before? It's cyclical, right? I'm all excited, but then chiropractic school. They pressurize you like a pressure cooker. It's so intense, countless hours of studying and practicing technique and getting all this stuff in your head and getting the stuff in your hands. It makes me think it's not anything like it, but it is kind of like it, what a soldier goes through in basic training. It's and the idea is that the person is transformed on the other side of it, and the idea is that they become better, smarter, stronger, etc., right? So that's the idea in chiropractic school too, and any kind of big program like that. And then you get better. So I graduate. Woo! I'm really excited now. Now it's another new beginning. Big new beginning, because now all of this time that I have put into learning this thing, now I get to do it. I get to help people. It's awesome. It's awesome. I'm so excited. New beginning. But then, what did I say? It's cyclical, right? It never lasts. It doesn't seem to last, at least. So what is this? Am I sensing a tension with my boss? Oh, I didn't mention. I got a job working for another chiropractor, a chiropractor who was a mentor of mine while I was a student. I had great experiences with her as a student. So I get a job with her. But then, oh God, after a couple months in, oh, are we having some issues? Maybe we're having some issues. Various things, and it's kind of building over time. I try to talk about it, and it doesn't really seem to land. So I'm feeling the tension. I'm sure she was feeling the tension too. And then the proverbial nail in the coffin, the thing that kind of sealed the deal for us, is she had a practice preference of she wanted me to see more people in less time, basically. And if anything, I needed more time with each person. That's just kind of how it felt right for me. And so we had a conversation about it. Basically, the result of the conversation is, if this is how you feel, if you need all of this extra time, then this office isn't going to work for you. Okay. Fair enough. It's not good or bad or anything. It's just a preference. Our preferences don't line up. It's okay. She's still helping people. It's fine. But I also have student loans. We had a 2-year contract. It was like 7 months in. What are we going to do about it right now? Well, we decided we'll finish the 2-year contract. And then we'll find a replacement for you. You have time to figure it out. Cool. That works for me. I can pay off most of my student loans in that time, and it'll be fine. And then, one fateful day, I'm walking from the parking lot to a physical therapist's office for some networking situation. Of course, I'm looking at my phone while I'm walking. It's normal enough, but I trip. And I fall like this. And I embed a rock about this big into my hand, about 2 millimeters from a bone that if it would have been 2 millimeters further that way, it would have shattered this bone in my hand and it would have left me completely unable to practice as a chiropractor. Oh, what a miracle that it landed exactly where it landed. It was okay. Got some good news back from the surgeon. The surgeon says 2 weeks for a full recovery. Whew. Oh my God, I am like, oh God. It's okay, it's good news. It's good news because it's only 2 weeks, no big deal. Well, a week later, a week into the 2-week recovery, I get a call from the boss. She says, don't come back. So this was like the ultimate pressurization for me at the time. Because I had all of this plans based on our 2-year contract, right? And now it's zero. Now it's nothing. By the way, guess what time frame it is right now? It's January 2020. The pandemic is just about to hit, and it just hits, and it leaves me completely in a state of loss and confusion, and I have no idea. And I know this is a theme for most, if not all of us, state of loss and confusion of what am I going to do? It's spring 2020. What a nightmare. What a nightmare. But, what did I say before? It's cyclical. This creates new beginnings. So I'm so grateful for this guy back here. His name's Gil Headley. Thank you, Gil. Because while I was working for this lady, I had paid for a class. I have a passion for anatomy. I love anatomy. I find that learning anatomy helps me to help my people better. So I had paid for this class, and I figured, well, shoot, might as well go. What else am I going to do right now? I already paid for the class, might as well go. So I go and I take his class, and I learn a ton, just like I do every time I'm in the lab with this guy. I have a great time. It's kind of like a breath of fresh air just on itself. It's a 6-day thing, but it was great. And then on the last day, he says, "Do you want to stay?" Huh. Fucking yeah, I want to stay. Not only do I want to stay, but now I can stay because I don't have to go back to that office where I was feeling so uncomfortable and not feeling aligned, Now I can stay. That's awesome. So he says, stay a month. I stayed for 6. And in that 6-month time, it was such an incredible new beginning. I can't even tell you. Here in Colorado Springs. I don't think I mentioned that. The class that he is hosting is here in Colorado Springs. So I come here. I have a fantastic time. During those 6 months, I learned more than I ever even possibly imagined that I could learn in that place. Amazing, amazing new beginning. During those 6 months, I made some professional relationships that were really, really awesome. Basically, I had the opportunity to open up a practice here. Thank you. I mean, huge, insane new beginning. I mean, because I have always lived in the South. I'm coming from Atlanta. I went to school in Atlanta, rather. And I've always kind of disliked the South. I'm sorry. I've always lived there, and I've always kind of disliked it. It's so humid, and it's so hot, and it's so flat. I don't like any of those things. I want cold, and I want dry, and I want mountains. Well, look where I landed. Thank you. Amazing. So it's such an incredible new beginning. But, what did I say before? It's cyclical. So now, any of you who own your own business, you all know the challenge of opening a business from scratch. It's incredible. It's an incredible challenge. However, I remember my lesson that the difficulty and the challenge, in the case of my hand, that difficulty and the challenge is what made this opportunity available. Without that challenge, I couldn't be here. So I accept this challenge that I'm going through right now of getting the practice off the ground because I feel that the new beginning, right? It will open up new opportunity. It's going to be better than it's ever been before. So my ultimate message to all of you, you have challenges in your life, have faith and have the confidence to go after those challenges because that's what makes the new beginnings for you. Thank you very much.
So let's see. Hold on. Madhav, get back here just in case there's an anonymous memoir in that basket. Just in case. We're going to find out. Anything? Not yet. All right. So we got one more break. Let's get some anonymous memoirs in there. So we've got 10, 15 more minutes, and we will be back with our last speaker of the evening, a storyteller, Scott Jenson, with 9 breaths. See you in a few. It's time to get to our last storyteller of the evening. So thank you for taking your seats. Yeah, we have a legend. And for our final storyteller of this evening, let's welcome Scott Jenson onto the stage. And the title of his story is 9 Breaths. Take it away.
Thank you. We weren't joking. It's like real bread up here. So when you get up on stage, there's this thing that happens and you get really nervous. And it's just one of those things that happens. It's a natural thing because it's unnatural to be in front of a group like this. And before I was standing in front of you today is Scott Jenson, the legend, which I'm totally adopting. Or Scott Jenson, the accountant, who I call myself Tax Smarty Pants now. Before I was a Smarty Pants, I was a teacher. And before I was a teacher, I was a student. And I was a student of music. And back then, I had a band director, and his name was Bob. I call him Bob now because I'm old. I called him Dr. Brewer back then because I was respectful. And Dr. Brewer, he was the sweetest man you'd ever meet. And he taught us a technique before we'd go out and perform. Because I studied saxophone. And before you'd go out, you take 9 breaths. Each breath is designed to change you physiologically, mentally, and spiritually. So that when you go out, things don't shake as much. That unnatural vibrato that happens becomes a natural one that's pretty to listen to. The music and the performance that you went out to do suddenly becomes what you're out there to do. And it's no longer survival. So I took this concept of 9 breaths, and I thought about it. Moments that change us physiologically, mentally, up here, and spiritually, wherever that is. And those moments in life that really, really changed me or affected me. And I wanted to share those with you. My first was literally my first breath. I was born here in Colorado Springs, right up the road, Penrose Community Hospital. It's no longer there. It's some urgent healthcare thing. And I grew up and I was a normal enough kid. Very personable. Loved people. I was the kid who'd go camping. I'd fall asleep in some stranger's tent. They also loved me because I was blonde and cute, and they fed me food. When I was 12, I took my second breath. And around that time is when I started to question everything in my life. I was brought up in a very, very strict religion. And I questioned it. And the path that was in front of me, I questioned it. Is that the path for me? Is that where I want to go? Is this really my faith, or is this somebody else's faith? And I struggled with that all through my teenage years. My third breath, I went to college. That's a big moment. You go out there, you go to college. You're out on your own. You're paying your own bills, kind of. I had some help. Definitely had some help, and I'm grateful for it. From both humans and the government. Unfortunately, the government wants it back. But I studied music, like I said. I was a shy person. Like, I got up there, I studied music. I worked with Dr. Brewer. He taught me the 9 breaths. It's good times. I studied composition. I was going to be a composer in Colorado. And I studied saxophone, which was good for me. It got me in front of people. It taught me strengths I didn't have. And I studied education. And I graduated. 5 years, 4-year degree. Oh, yeah. Now, when I graduated, it was my 4th breath, because suddenly I am on my own. I found a woman who I fell in love with. Head over heels. This was the woman of my life. I was afraid to have kids. She wanted to have kids. A couple years later, I wanted to have kids. She didn't want kids anymore. We moved to Denver. She was in the service industry. She, I think at that time, was a bartender or a bar manager. And I was a teacher. And I don't know if you've been to Denver, but it's very expensive. Down here, we're getting there. We're catching right up. But back then, I was a teacher. She was a bartender. She made more than me. Needless to say, I had to consider other options if we were going to have kids. And I did. And guess what? Everybody needs an accountant. Big companies, little companies. You. It was safe. I didn't know anything about accounting back then, by the way. I didn't grow up with it. I didn't know anything. I studied music. Did I mention that? I studied music. I came down to Colorado Springs so my sister could do my tax return every year. And that was my next breath. That was my fifth breath. I went out into the world of business. I learned about a whole world I didn't know existed. Married man, paying my own way, Denver. Maybe I'll have kids one day. But you know, when one spouse works mornings and the others work in the days, and you don't see each other, you tend to grow apart. And then stuff happens and you lie to yourself about it. Family drama happens. You pull away. Friends move away because, like I said, Denver's expensive. And eventually, you're sitting in an office wondering, what happened? Who's this roommate that I live with? What's this job that I have? When I taught, I got 2,800 steps. I talked to at least 100 people a day, children included. When I was an accountant, suddenly I was sitting in a corner in an office. I'd go entire days without talking to another person. I like people. I was a teacher. I liked helping people. Around the same time, I realized my marriage was over. She moved on. I needed to. We told each other we'd change, we'd get better. But I didn't. And she didn't. And just one day I knew. So I left her. Took my dog. Always take the dog. I moved into a 300 square foot little carriage house. It was me and a dog. I took my saxophones. I took my books. I took my clothes. And I took some stuff out of the kitchen. I didn't want anything. I didn't even take a chair. I wanted my horns and my dog, okay? Saxophones and dog come. I thought I was going to be okay. I thought this has to be my sixth breath. This is the new beginning. So I got up in the morning and I walked my dog every day. And I went to work every day. And I played the part every day. And I went home. And when I got home, I sat on the floor. And I couldn't go to sleep because if I went to sleep, I'd admit I was depressed. And if I admitted that to myself, I knew I'd break. And I'd go to bed. And I'd wake up. And I'd walk my dog. And I'd go to work. And I'd go home. I'd sit in the same place on the floor every day, facing the closet. One day I got up. I walked over to the closet and I opened it because I knew what was in it. And I took it out. And I put it so it was facing me. And I took out the hollow point that I kept with it. And I put that so it was facing me. I went back to my spot. I kept the closet door open, and I thought about it. There's two black eyes looking at me out of the closet. Inside of me there was a black hole because I knew this was what empty felt like. Over there, there's two brown eyes looking at me, my dog. And this was my routine for about 3 weeks. I'd get up, I'd walk my dog, I'd go to work, I'd come home, I'd sit in my spot. Every day. Even on weekends, because it was tax season. And I thought to myself, of all the people around me who had made that choice, who had picked up that gun and decided it was enough. Friends, family of friends, children. And I looked at the holes they left behind that I felt and that I witnessed. And I thought of my brother. And I thought of my two sisters, my brother-in-laws and my sister-in-law. I thought of my mom and my stepdad and my dad and my stepmom. I thought of the friends that I still talk to occasionally when they reached out. I didn't reach out anymore. I sat in my spot. I had a staring contest. I had a choice. I have 6 nephews and nieces, 3 of each. And if you've ever had a kid run up to you and hug you with absolute and unequivocal love, it's a moment worth being there for. And I thought about what my poor sisters would have to say to them if I made a choice. Yeah, they'd remember Uncle Scott for a while. But it would always be that thing that was too painful. It would be that thing that broke my sister or my mom. And I had to make a choice. So I stood up. I walked across the room. And I closed that door. Went back to my spot after that. The next morning I got up. And I walked my dog. And I went to work. And I came home and I sat in that spot. And my 6th breath was the choice not to open that door again. And to never entertain that idea. Never entertain it. It's not an option. Because even though I made myself alone, I wasn't. There was a hug waiting for me somewhere. There was somebody at work who would be affected by me every day. There was a dog who needed to be walked in the morning. So I took my 7th breath, but I'll tell you, it took a while. Standing up there and going, I gotta walk the dog, I gotta make breakfast, I gotta work out a little bit. I've gotta find the joy in my work again. It's gotta be there. And my 7th breath, that was propelling me forward a little bit. I bought a house, changed jobs twice, but it wasn't enough. Something was missing. So I started a company. And in my 8th breath, I started my own accounting firm. I moved to a place that I said I would never move. Twice in my life, in fact. I was like, I'm never going back to Colorado Springs. I grew up there. I don't want to be there. And so here I am, Colorado Springs. But this is where I belong. This is where family is. This is where friends are. This is where the business that I want to work for is. And the one that I'm growing so that I can share it with my clients, with my friends, with the people who I get to employ, with my team. And there's my 7th breath and my 8th breath all in one. But if we're up to today, and there are 9 breaths, what does that mean? Maybe tonight is the 9th breath. And if tonight's my 9th breath, I'm going to invite you to think about the breaths that you've had in your life. Each and every moment that changed you physiologically, mentally, spiritually. What they meant to you, how they got you to where they are. And what breath would have to follow to make you ready to walk out in front of that crowd, in front of the world, and be who you are. Not just who you want to be, but who you're meant to be. What breath will get you from the spot on the floor onto a stage, into a business, Or, even more importantly, into the arms of somebody who loves you in that hug. Like when I walk into my nephew's and niece's arms, and they give me that big old kid hug. Those are the best moments. So when you go out tonight, I'm going to invite you to walk out into that Colorado air, that nice, cold, January 31st air. Take a deep breath before you get home, before you get in your car, before you go to bed. And think of all the breaths that got you to today. The good ones, the bad ones, and everyone in between. And what today's breath means for you, and how it can spell out for you what tomorrow is, what 2022 is, or maybe what the rest of your life is. You need that.
Wow, keep clapping for Scott. That was phenomenal. That was an amazing... that's everything you want in a story, right? Everything. So thank you very much. Do we have any anonymous memoirs back there? All right. Do we have more than one? All right. So where's Madhav? You each get to read one each.
Reading's the hard part. No worries. I used to teach middle school too, so you'd think I could read anything.
Want to go first then?
No, you go ahead. Okay. I don't have a room to tell my story, but I want to tell my lesson from having a new beginning. Every new beginning arrives. See? This is why I made them type. The kids.
Every new beginning requires...
Requires. Every new beginning requires a crisis or tribulation that scars you. What is optional is how you frame that scar. Is it a scarlet letter or a war wound? The scar isn't optioned, but the shame is. Much like a butterfly has to shed the cocoon first, you first have to shed the shame for your new beginning.
Very nice. Okay. I am a survivor of a serious suicide attempt 4 years ago. I ingested 100 lithium pills and somehow survived. Last year I graduated and became certified as a recreation therapist and love my career. Now I get to help people who have suffered with mental health issues as I have had my whole life.
Thank you, gentlemen. Yeah, we'll get them. We'll figure it out. All right, so what did you think of tonight's memoirs? Yeah. There is something very truly powerful about just sitting down and, again, listening, which is why I always start at the beginning with something about listening, because we have, as they said a million times, 2 ears and 1 mouth, and I know for sure I need to use my mouth less and my ears more. So I will be the first one to say that. Again, if you are interested in being on this stage, memoirscos@gmail.com, or just tap me or Maritza on the shoulder and we'll be happy to talk to you. And who's ready to hear what next month's theme is going to be? All right, here we go. So next month's theme. It fills our empty places. It motivates change and growth. It softens the impact of childhood trauma and helps steady long-held insecurities. It fixes and repairs and overcomes. It even keeps infants' hearts beating. It sets the stage for our development and determines the difficulty or ease by which we trust and forgive others. So what's all the fuss about? Written and sung about by poets and songwriters all around the world since humans have been around. Next month's theme is, What's love got to do with it? So if this theme hits you in the soul, let's get you on this stage. Monday, February 28th at 6:30 p.m. right here at 3E's. And aside from that, thank you guys very much. We appreciate your time and attention and being here. And enjoy the rest of your evening.